Well, Clinton, welcome to the middle. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for putting me in the middle. I appreciate it.
You're
It's not,
welcome.
it's much better than when you're on a plane in the middle seat.
It is the worst seat. I've met one person in my entire life that preferred the middle seat.
Let me ask you this. I want to ask your your philosophy on this. I feel like if you're in the middle seat, you automatically should be able to. You should get the armrests on both
You,
sides,
I
right?
agree. I
Yeah, it
agree.
should just be universally understood. Like, move your arm, man. Like, I'm crushed in the middle. I need someplace to put my arms.
Yeah, I do it all the time. I mean, I've gotten more bold with it as I've gotten older, of just kind of forcing my way in and saying I'm here. And especially on the longer flights, a little puddle jumper. I used to fly a lot from Chicago into Michigan, 20-minute flights. All right, whatever. But yeah,
The difference is if you banged into my arm and pushed me over, I'm just gonna be like, "Ah, this girl wants to hit the armrest." If I bang you, that's a problem. So there's a difference. I can't mush a girl out of the way.
we'll have you on maybe another episode to talk about the middle seat in flying. But
I
I wanted to ask you today. I want to kind of kick it off with a question. I think every sports fan has at some point or another: is gaming and is esports, are they actually a sport?
well, you're talking to the guy that's making it, and making sure that it is and recognize that. So, being the founder and CEO of the Global Gaming League, one of our goals was to, one, make gaming accessible to the billions of casual gamers around the world. You didn't have to be a hardcore esports player to join this league and rise in the ranks and be on a celebrity-owned team. Um, but also, much like fishing or darts or bowling or golf, or, when you look at gaming and people that really take it serious, you have the same commitment, the same focus, the same discipline, the same practice. If you're on an esports team, then you have coaching and, it all aligns with everything else that would align with any other kind of sport, take away the physicality of it. But there is still also a lot of the stress and anxiety, and not as like you're not going to get a concussion gaming, unless you're psyched and you fall back in your chair. But like, you're not going to get hit by somebody and you don't have to dunk a ball. But there is still, the mental strain on it. There is, your hands, you're sitting,
Yeah. Yeah.
sitting in any kind of position, in any position that you're in for a long amount of time. If you're a catcher, in baseball and you're squatted down for a long time. It takes a lot of time to get used to doing that, right? An umpire's back. He ain't even playing, but
Well,
him
yeah.
leaning over, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So um, I think people that may front on it that it's not a sport are those that, one, aren't too interested in playing games, or two, define a sport as something that's physical. But I mean, I just named a couple of things like, darts and sport fishing. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, is it really? It is a sport, but I'm saying if you're going to go by the definition of football, basketball, hockey, then is it really? The
Yeah.
answer is yes. We've all decided as a world that the answer is yes. So I would say that gaming is in that same arena.
And can you, just for our listeners who may not know, can you just help them understand the difference between esports and gaming?
Absolutely. So you have two different types of gaming. You have esports on this side, then you have gaming. Esports is reserved for the hardcore endemic gamers that grind 8 to 15 hours a day, hoping to be on an esports org that hopefully gets selected to be in a closed league, which is like a one game league like Call of Duty or Valorant or Rocket League. It costs millions of dollars to run that kind of team. Gaming is everything else from Madden to 2K to Mario Brothers to Tetris to Tekken. All of that is gaming, right? Gaming is not part of esports. Esports is, they're two separate things,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So this one over here is for the hardcore fans that are really know and understand every single intricacy about esports. Gaming could be your mom, it could be me, it could be someone that's a hardcore gamer too, but enjoys casual gaming. So esports and gaming are not the same. They're all gaming, but esports is a narrowed down version of gaming that's reserved for a hardcore audience, and it's a very niche audience too.
And I'm assuming, you're a gamer, or are you? How'd you get into it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been gaming since the Atari 2600. So, yeah, I've been gaming my whole life. Had everything from Atari to Nintendo to Intellivision to ColecoVision to Sega, everything. Um, but at the time that I got into gaming, seriously, business wise, I wouldn't consider myself. I mean, I guess everyone that even if you casually play on your phone, you're technically a gamer. But to people that are watching, that would probably define a gamer as someone that's hardcore, doing it all the time, plays every game and da da da. I wasn't that kind of a gamer. I was a casual gamer. But why I got into the space around 2017 because there was a bunch of popular kids online that had millions of followers and did trick shooting and Call of Duty and whatnot, and had some esports teams. They were totally disconnected from mainstream and pop culture. So I went to that company. I helped stand up the business and helped take it from zero to $1 billion IPO because of what I've done throughout my career is build culturally impacting brands. And I'm a a Grammy-nominated multi-platinum songwriter and producer. I've sold over 80 million records. So I've worked with all the biggest names. So when I got into the gaming space, I realized like, oh, this is a place where you can bring gaming, music, fashion, sports, celebrity, culture, the pageantry of WWE and the smack talking of UFC and bring all these things together. So I was like, man, it's crazy that there's no WWE, UFC, NFL, or video gaming. If I can
Mhm.
build teams to be successful, why don't I build that? So I hit my friend T Pain, who's also a gamer. You may know him from his hit records. And I said, dude, we need to bring this to the culture. We need to bring this to the streets. We need to make people understand how much opportunity and possibility is in gaming because it's the one thing you don't age out. Doesn't matter your race, religion, region, handicap, gender. You could be 700 pounds. You could be non-athletic. You could have no legs. You could be 71. You could be 17. You could be a Major League Baseball star. And it's all a level playing field where anybody and everybody become a breakout star in gaming. And I think a lot of people don't understand that or recognize it because you know, people think that it's for like dudes or dorks, or
Mhm.
like,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
young kids, and it's not. The average gamer now is 35 years old.
I read that.
46% of gamers are female. In the States, one third of gamers in America are over 50, right?
Oh my
And like, yeah, people just don't even recognize that because they also don't understand what it means to be a gamer. If you play Doodle Jump on your phone, you're a gamer. You know what I'm saying? If you play 2K, all of this is considered being a gamer. It's just different levels of gaming in different genres. But the idea of playing something digitally, on your phone or a console or a PC, you're a gamer. And that's why I wanted to create something for everybody to be a part of with the Global Gaming League and not just for the hardcore endemic esports aspiring players.
What is that untold side of gaming culture that this mainstream media is kind of missing? To your point, they've kind of painted them as this certain demographic when they're
Yeah.
not at all.
I think there's a stigma with gaming and gamers that you're isolated and you're secluded in your bedroom or your
In your
basement by
basement.
yourself, not socializing, not getting outside, not using your brain or your body to do things. And I think that is misguided and misinformed.
Yes.
The gaming community is a global community where people make friends from all different walks of life, cultures, regions, races, religions, and they're actually getting to learn and know people in a way that they would have never known had they just went outside and rode a bike in their neighborhood, right? So, I mean, when you think about sports, when they're playing hockey in a rink, is anybody parent saying, "Why are you in the rink all day? Go outside. Why are you
Mhm.
in the court playing basketball all day? Go outside." It's just a different means of doing something that you're passionate about, you're excited about, that you can build a career around, and you can make lifelong friends around. And I think that would be the biggest misconception of what being a gamer is for parents and adults.
What do you think it does to someone who does hear who's either maybe into gaming or wants to get into it and hears that something they're really passionate about is kind of dismissed as like not a real thing? What do you think that does to them?
Well, hopefully they have good enough self-esteem and confidence that was instilled by their parents to not listen to somebody tell them something like that. I mean, at the end of the day, if what is cool, right? Cool is
Mm,
whatever you like to do. Whatever you think is cool, that's cool. Who cares what somebody else thinks? That's not cool to them. Cool. Well, you're not doing it. I am. So,
yeah.
like, this is the way I grew up. I never followed other people. I never listened to other people's opinions. I never used somebody else's definition of cool. If I wanted to wear Mitch Match sneakers or this thing on my head, because I looked in the mirror and it's like, this looks cool. I didn't care if someone was like, that looks whack. Okay, to you. why would your opinion supersede my own of
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
think is cool? Like that means I'm not even a solid person. I'm just like floating and waiting for someone else to tell me who to be and how to be. So hopefully, that's another thing too about gaming. The community, I mean, I could tell you right now in our global gaming league Discord, when I jump in there as a CEO and I just check in with everybody and they get super excited that the CEO is that involved, like I see people in there talking about their day or they're having trouble at work or someone's girlfriend just died recently in the Discord, and like you can see all of the community coming together to support. And like what other sport like can you sit there and actually have full-blown conversations while you're playing and dominating on your boy while you're having a meaningful conversation? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it brings people together in a way that's so unique and so global and so non-discriminating that I think if people open their mind to realize, they would see that this is the next biggest thing in the world, and it already has the largest entertainment audience in the world. More
Mhm.
than anything else, gaming has the largest entertainment audience anywhere else. So it was time for a league like the Global Gaming League to come in and legitimize it. And, gamers are athletes and gaming is a sport, and the Global Gaming League is here to cement that.
Did you have a moment where you kinda thought, "Someone needs to build what you're now building, like, something needs to be different in this industry, and it might as well be me."
Yeah. When I was working with FaZe Clan, I realized the things that I was doing over there, the interest that pop culture and mainstream and the entertainment industry started to take interest in. And clearly everybody games like some way, shape, or form. And it was like, man, like I said, how is this the largest entertainment audience in the world, but totally disconnected from mainstream pop culture in the streets? I'm from the streets, so we all game. None of us know how to make money, or none of us even know that esports was a thing. Right? People still don't even know that it's a thing. And it's not for us. Snoop Dogg's not going to stop being Snoop Dogg to join an esports team. You know what I'm saying? Like, T-Pain's not going to do that. Like everybody I know that games, whether casually or considers himself to be awesome, but not good enough to be, in an esports team, because that's another level of awesome. Like they're not going to stop doing like Jonas Brothers, Terry Crews, Jessica Alba, T-Pain, Offset, like Megan the Stallion, Mookie Betts. They're not going to stop doing the thing that they're awesome at doing to become a full-time esports player. However, they want to be recognized as being a badass gamer. They want to build business. They want to compete. They want to make money. They want to talk crap. They want to do all that stuff. But there wasn't anything there to do that unless you were just giving all up and going to try to be an esports player, which, by
Yeah,
the
yeah.
way, that doesn't even last that long. And no one's really paying attention to it. So, yeah, I had the aha moment when I was at FaZe Clan, like, this is way bigger than just one organization or one team. This is Amazon meets Facebook meets Rolling Loud meets Complex Con meets Comic Con. Like, it's all of that together. When I called Mark Wahlberg, first question I said, I go, "Hey, what do you know about video gaming?" He was like, "Shit." And I go, uh, "Do you let your kids game?" And he was like, a couple hours a week. And I said, "Dude, imagine if your mom and my mom only let us do music a couple hours a week. Neither one of us would be here today." Right. And then he was like, "Okay, I'm listening." So then, like, as I tell him about it, he's like, "Honey, we gotta let our kids play some more fucking video games." Right. Like, and like, it's just because people don't know because of the
Mm,
stigma that's around it. But
yeah.
it's starting to grow more. Like Damon John recently went on the Rich Eisen show and he went on TMZ Sports and talked about me and the Global Gaming League and how this is the next big thing. I just hung up the phone with Howie Mandel before this, talking about going to Netflix and Paramount, Amazon, and bringing the show that we have to them because it's a high quality, entertaining. Look, it's like the NFL meets WWE meets UFC, meaning the professionalism and the structure of traditional sports leagues like the NFL and the NBA, pageantry, theatrics, storylines, smack talking like WWE. And much like the UFC, we see two people compete that you wouldn't see elsewhere compete. Here's where you would see like a Shaq go against a Jessica Alba's team. And that's what makes this really unique and powerful and relatable. And people can resonate because even if like I had Allie Webb from Shark Tank and Dry Bar, she came to one of my events and she was like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize how amazing and fun this was. Now I get why my kids are so addicted. Now I want to play, right? And I was like, that's why I invited you, so you could see this, right? And like Flex Lewis, 12-time Mr. Olympia, he was like, bro, this is insane. Like I was on the edge of my seat because I'm also Don Kinging and Vince McMahoning this league at the same time. Meaning I'm writing the storylines. I'm pitting people against each other. Like
Mhm.
T-Pain and Neo were talking shit to each other for like months online. So much so that like, Pusha and Jermaine Dupri and Wale gets involved, and then like their moms got involved and started talking
The
smack.
moms, you got the
Yeah.
moms involved?
Yeah. Then their moms showed up at the event and stood by their sons. Like, yeah, like we have a halftime show at every match. So like, Soldier Boy, Rich the Kid, or Travie McCoy, or Wheatus. And like, I took the best of every single thing we all like as a culture, entertainment, and sports fans. And like, if everybody watches a Super Bowl, primarily it gets record numbers because of the halftime show. Why is every why does every match not have a halftime show? It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
make any sense. So I'm
yeah.
just like, why are you guys not bringing the best things that work and use them
From
all the time? So I
yeah.
just, because I've been in so many industries, I just took pieces of every single thing that's awesome and brought it to gaming, which is the biggest entertainment business in the world.
So explain to us how does the Global Gaming League work? And kinda not, I always say, like, not the press release version. How do you explain it? If you had to talk to my 78-year-old dad.
I would say, imagine the NFL, but there's two teams on stage, and instead of throwing a football, they both compete against each other in video games. There's four people on each team. There's four different games that we play. Each round is a different game, and you can only use one of the players on your team for each round. So that's how you compete against, and then whoever wins at the end wins. So look at it like, and the teams are all owned by celebrities. The Global Gaming League is a league of celebrity-owned teams. So think Howie Mandel, T-Pain, Flavor Flav. They're all the team. They're the Richard Kraft. They're the Robert Kraft, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so they're the Robert Krafts of the league, and they own the teams. Some of them play, but some of them just own the team, and then they're on a big stage. I just picture any other stage. It's not a court or a field. It's a stage. You got their team over here, this team over here. They both have their booths that they sit at, giant screens, so you can watch it happening, and then they play against each other. You're watching. It's just as exciting as watching a regular sport. I mean, we had, heavyweight champ Chase Demore do VR boxing against Gilly the Kid at one of our matches recently. Everybody was out of their seats going crazy like it was a real boxing match because you're watching it on the screen and they're really throwing blows.
Mhm.
So, like, it's really exciting. I mean, I would argue it's way more exciting than some of the other things I said earlier. Like, you're not on the edge of your seat on a golf game. Like, you're not just like, dude, he's about to throw the next dart. Let's go. Like, nobody's doing that, right? But like, when you're watching Call of Duty, it's like, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, there's one guy left. Oh my God, he's coming around the corner. Like people are going crazy. Even the casters are like super hyped and getting you excited. So even if you don't know some of the games, which by the way, the games we play are very easy to understand. Like we're not playing the games that like nobody understands. Like our last match was Tetris, Tekken, Call of Duty, we actually did a match where we played live Uno, Neo versus Howie Mandel, and there's a spotlight on the middle of the stage. I was the dealer, and they had 5 minutes. Whoever had the least amount of cards in 5 minutes or
5
had an
minutes?
Uno wins, and Howie got an Uno, right? So like,
Oh!
so it's bringing all these worlds, different ages, different demographics, different cultures, all together under one roof with the common denominator being competition, entertainment, and gaming.
And how many teams are there?
Season 1, we just finished season 0, which is the more of a case study, proof
Yeah,
of
yeah.
concept. In the final season 0 championship match was Howie's team, How We Do It Gaming, versus Neo's team, which is called Gentleman's Gaming Team, and it ended up in a draw. So season 1, they'll see the big rematch about there was a
Yeah.
lot of smack talking online, a lot of controversy around that match and who should have won. So that's going to be in season 1. So in season 1, when we launch later this year, there'll be 8 teams.
8
And
teams.
then season 2, we add another 8. Season 3, we'll add another 8. So we'll end up having 24 teams in the league.
And who can join these teams? How do people get involved?
Yeah, great question. So we built the first and only online gaming platform called gglprimes.com. And it's the only platform where you can compete, you can sign up, compete daily, rise in the ranks from our Primes League to our minor league to our major league. The best of the best from the minor league make it to our draft. We'll have a real draft, just like the NBA or the NFL every year. And the best of the best get drafted to our major league, which is our celebrity owned teams. So you can log on to gglprimes.com right now, sign up, claim your name, compete daily, rise in the ranks, make money, enter tournaments. We also have master classes in there where we have everybody from the Damon Jones to the Jeff Hoffmans of the world coming in and giving master classes. Because one of the things that I really care about is empowering people. And if I'm going to help to try to make somebody the next breakout athlete in the league, I also want to teach them financial literacy, networking, communication, branding, all that stuff. So if you're in the league, every month we have a master class with a really big executive and high profile person that's going to give, I have Chase Bank coming in to teach financial literacy. So we have stuff like that. We have, we're giving away prizes. In fact, this past week, we just gave away a signed PS5 that's signed by Flavor Flav, Neo, T-Pain, Adam W., and a whole bunch of people. So it's got a huge community. We had 20,000 people sign up in the past 3 weeks. So it's growing really fast. So it's a fun place to go. And even if you're just curious about gaming and understanding, joining the league in our Discord will, one, you'll have a really embracing and warm community that'll welcome you. Even if you're just looking for friends and you want to casually game and not rise in the ranks, awesome place to just meet people and hang out and game and shoot the shit if you want. gglprimes.com.
And you kind of touched on it, but what are all games in there? All types of games?
Yeah, every game, you name it, it's in there. So we have tournaments around every single game. And one of the greatest things is we solved two major problems. One, a place for the billions of casual gamers around the world to join a league, rise in the ranks, be on a global leaderboard, have their own dashboard, be able to talk smack. We even have a private messaging in there so people can challenge other people to games and whatnot. So we solved the problem for casual gamers and gamers to actually really rise in the ranks and have a place to become a professional doing something that they're passionate about. On the other side, we solve the problem. 1,000 independent games come out a month. They do not have a place. Yeah, most people don't know that. So they have no place to go and promote directly to a community, to create tournaments and competitions, to create social clips, to get data analytics, to run beta testing. So we've solved that problem with our platform too, where it's now a discovery for new games as well. So players come there. We're introducing new games, new developers introducing games. So like I said, that's why I said Amazon, Facebook, Rolling Loud, because we're bringing all of these different, the social aspect, the e-commerce aspect of it, the sports aspect, the entertainment aspect. It's all under one roof. globalgamingleague.com.
And obviously, folks are gaming in their own personal homes or wherever they are. But at some point, you mentioned it, there does get to be this in-person community event, right?
Yep. Yeah. So people, when they play online, obviously they play on their phone, on their
Yeah.
console, or on PC. But like as you grow through the ranks, if you do make it to the majors, then yeah, now you're a paid gamer on a celebrity team. You're hanging out with, Snoop Dogg or Lil Wayne or whoever's team that you make it on, and you're getting paid and flown out to LA to play for your team.
And
Wherever
how
you
do
are in
you
the world. You could be in Nigeria and you're getting brought out. Yeah.
how do you recruit people into that, especially from the owner side? Like, how do you kind of said you're running this end to end. So how are you finding those owners and those people that say, I don't just want to be gaming, I want to be a bigger part of this?
So how I've done it strategically for season one is if I want to make the world familiar with what I'm doing, then I have to bring in people that the world are familiar with. Right. So, um, I went and look, you could be the most famous person in South Korea, but the world doesn't know you. If you're the most famous person in America, the world knows who you are. So season one, I started with A-list globally recognized names from America so that it brings brand attention, media attention. We already have over 3 billion media impressions for season zero. Investors makes other celebrities want to be a part of it, but then it makes other people want to be like gamers want to be a part of it because of the celebrities, the notoriety, the brands that are involved, the media attention. But then it also brings their fan base in. I mean, think about, let's just use Howie Mandel again. How many of Howie Mandel fans do you think know that he even games? right?
I would say very I didn't know it.
Yeah, nobody knew that, right? This guy has a whole studio full of gamers that he pays to game before he even came to the GGL, right? And
Wow.
I didn't know either. I was like, holy shit, you're this how much of a gamer, right? And like, I was like, this is a no-brainer for you to be a part of, which is why he's so heavily a part of the Global Gaming League, because he's passionate about it. But guess what it does? It opens him up to a whole new world. Matter of fact, Howie's becoming a heel in the league. Like, he Howie's like talking shit, calling people out for cheating, like throwing the whole format off its heels by like drafting people in the middle of a match. Like Travie McCoy from Gym Class Heroes performed at halftime. And then he like talked to the crowd for me. He's like, man, I'm a gamer. I feel left out. Out of nowhere, Howie goes over, you want to be on a team? You're on my team right now. Like they brought him out of Jersey and he played the next round. Like, like, so like Howie's just doing so many things. I mean, you just put the camera on and Howie's, right? But like, he really cares about it and he's passionate about gaming. So that's the strategy behind how I'm deciding and picking who should be players in here. Also, touching different worlds. So you bring people from this world, you bring people from this world, and then they all come together under this one culture club where everybody's welcome.
I was gonna say, because you talked earlier about the diversity of what gamers can be and who the gaming population, but it sounds like you're also striving to reflect that in those more, um, the folks that are more present and more out there in the face of this league.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Um, this pipeline that you are building, you said, anyone can get in and then they can move up through the ranks to all the way up to the top. But so this pipeline that you're building, first off, do you think that lack of pipeline that we haven't had in this industry before, has that been why it hasn't been taken seriously? Because it was kind of just the top level or nothing?
Yeah. Until the Global Gaming League, you were either a hardcore professional esports player who could join a league and make money, or you're just a regular gamer that there's really nothing for you. There's been online platforms for you to enter like into tournaments and make, $20, $50, $100, $5, as a casual player. Those exist. There's a bunch of online gaming platforms. So we're like, how do we come in here and just turn it on its head in the spirit of uplifting the entire industry so that everybody could thrive, not to just dominate and knock everybody out the box. It was like, there's billions of people here, but nobody's paying attention or taking it serious on how to build, as you said, the pipeline or platforms for people to have opportunities to rise in the ranks, to make money, to, be part of communities, to connect with new people that they haven't connected with before, or make a career out of the thing that they're passionate about. So we built the platform for any and everybody to rise in the ranks and to make money. And the fact that we're a multi-title league where it's not just, okay, I have to play Call of Duty in order to matter, or,
Mm.
I have to play Valorant. It's like, it's any and everything as described in all the games that we played earlier.
What I love about that is, most kids, or I shouldn't say kids, anyone who joins, you know, they if they don't strive to that ultimate level, like that's okay. They're still gonna walk away with something. They're still gonna have, to your point, that community, that sense of this was worth it. Even if I didn't make that upper echelon, which up until this point, that was kind of it. It was either if you didn't make it there, that was the definition of success. So I love that there is now that definition of success can match whatever the person who joins the Global Gaming League wants to get out of it, and
Yeah.
not anyone else's definition.
100%. Like it's not the great thing about this, like, yeah, you can make it to the top, but that's not the only definition of success in here. There's
Mhm.
so many other ways to be successful and find happiness and joy and being part of this league. I mean, every other sport, you're just trying to be the best of the best so you can get to the top, make the most money and be the star, right? Ultimately, obviously, I'm leaving out the passion and it's your love of the game and all that stuff. But like, success wise, right?
Yeah.
But like this is like you're making friends, you're building community, you're winning money, you're winning all these prizes, you're in this raffle, you're learning from the best of the best in our master classes. Like, even if you never make it to the top, guaranteed when you're listening to Damon John or Gary Vee or myself in there giving you game about branding and marketing and all of that emotional IQ and all that stuff, like you're going to be a better person just being part of the Global Gaming League, even if you don't make it to a major league team. And that's the whole goal.
So how if someone is there, someone does join, and let's say they are really a beginner in gaming, How do they get noticed? How do they get that attention?
Yeah. By the way, you don't even have to just be a great gamer. You might be an awesome personality, and we need that person. That person's hilarious, right? So it's like, they may suck. They're the Bob Euchre of gaming. So it's like, you know, let's bring them in because they're gonna add to the storyline. Maybe that dude's a great shit talker. We got to bring him on our team. Maybe this person's just such a crazy character that like and he's just a decent gamer, but he attracts, the attention to the league. So all of that stuff plays a role as well. So back to you don't have to be the best of the best, right? So
Yeah.
crap, I forgot your exact question.
Well, it was just, how do they actually get noticed? Like so
But
you
yeah,
I
so
think you
they get noticed by that, by
yeah.
participating, consistency, you know, whether it's being really good at the game and rising through the ranks. Like we have this one kid from the Netherlands that literally was just a fan, joined the community, came to our live events, was sitting in the stands, and then rise in our global leaderboard to become number one. He's now on one of the major teams, and we flew him from the Netherlands, and he was on Gillian Wallow's team, on $1 Million Gaming team. If that's not a story, and that's in under a year. In under a year,
Wow.
that guy went from an anonymous gamer that just liked what the Global Gaming League stood for, went from the stands to the main stage, getting paid to play on a team. Like if that doesn't tell you that this works and it's real, I don't know what else would.
Is there a moment from your season 0 that sticks with you?
Wow, there's so many. Yeah. So two that stick out the most is how he did it again. When it was time for Neo. So Neo beat T-Pain in the match before the championship match. So everybody was waiting. Nobody knew Neo was that good at fighting games. So everyone was like, oh my God, Neo's a beast. So when it was the championship match, we intentionally didn't say who was playing him in Tekken when that round came. So when that round came and it was time for the casters to announce Neo, one of the casters was like, so remember when I was telling you guys a couple weeks ago that I think Neo's not going to win? And the other casters were like, yeah, where are you getting that? And he was like, well, me and Howie made a deal. And he went behind the desk and he pulled up his shirt. He's like, I'm playing for Howie Mandel. How he do it? And like a caster turned into a gamer is so cool. He's like walking down, the handheld cameras following him like WWE, talking smack. He gets to the stage, the whole crowd goes crazy. And then he goes against Neo. And this is why it became a rematch because he used, some people might not know what this means, others may. He used a special skill mode on Tekken, which gave him an advantage. Neo found out after round one, stood up and was like, that's not you. That's the machine. It should be done over again. The crowd's going crazy. They're taking sides. They did it over. Neo ended up winning, but then that guy was complaining. So that ended up being a draw, right? But that was WWE at its finest,
Yeah.
but for video gaming.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and then there was another really moment that went super viral when this girl named Cash Page was playing against this other kid named Jumpman, and I think they were also playing Tekken or Street Fighter or something. And she jumped up after like one or two rounds, and she asked for the mic from the host. Adam W was the host, and she takes the mic. She goes, "Bro, you're cheating, bro. Like, do something different. You keep pressing A. You keep pressing A. Press combinations. You cheating, bro." And like she's just going crazy, and the crowd's going nuts, like boo, because like poor sportsmanship. And she's kind of cool, all tatted up. She's got chains on, and he's just like kind of like reserved dude that you would think is kind of a nerdy gamer, right? He's just taking it on the chin, taking it, taking it, taking it. And then like, is he going to say something? Then all of a sudden he asks for the mic. She's like, you're pressing A. All you do is press A. You're cheating, bro. You're pressing A. And then, so he puts his hand out to take the mic and everyone's kind of like, what's about to happen? And he just goes, I was pressing Y. And the crowd goes crazy because he's like, yo, if you're gonna say I'm cheating, at least call me out, right? I was pressing Y. Not and like that went viral and like everyone's talking about is that cheating or not? And like so like I understand how to put on shows. So
Mhm.
like that's what I'm doing with the Global Gaming League.
And, pro sports, they have, unions and collective bargaining agreements, player protections. Right now, esports doesn't. Does the GGL change any of that? Do you want to change any of that?
I, you know, it's that'll be determined by our growth, right? So like, we went to the top law firm to get the most stringent agreements and contracts and player agreements at the beginning, and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on contracts that were like, do we really need these? These are like way too strict right now. Like, let's have fun, right? Like, when a problem happens, let's address it when it happens, right? So, like, let's just make, basic guidelines like can't do this, can't do that, misconduct and all that kind of stuff. Like, you get penalized or thrown out, all the basic, human things. Like, just do the right thing type shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and then kind of basic rules around the gameplay and then the format and infrastructure. But I'm sure there's going to be things that we didn't have rules for yet that come up over the next 2 years that we'll have to start implementing the rules because we're creating a new category. Like, we're defining a new industry, a new sport. You know what I mean? No one's going to have all the answers at the beginning because problems are going to come up later that we didn't think about. So, we have the basic rules and infrastructure. We had a commissioner and a legal team, and we still have a legal team and great minds here and gamers that have helped build leagues that know, like, here's some problems, here's some anti-cheat things we should implement and all that kind of stuff. But as far as like all of the rules, we don't have them yet, but we have enough to make it legitimate in a real sports league that the team owners have to sign a team agreement that define the do's and the don'ts.
And do you have a minimum age, or is that really dictated by the game itself?
No, I mean, anybody can join the Global Gaming League. We haven't got to a point yet where, a 13-year-old was so good, he's going to make it to the draft.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Clearly, we wouldn't discriminate. And if they're that good, they're that good. Obviously, that's back to the rule part. That's when lawyers in parenting will have to come into play. Like, how do we properly do this? This kid lives in Germany, but he's the best player at this, and he's good enough to be drafted. So,
Mhm.
that's when the parents have to be involved, labor laws, all that kind of stuff we'd have to address when we get to that point.
And I was to say, and you talked about a little earlier, like one of the perks of gaming is obviously in mainstream primetime sports, you have physical injuries, you have your body's breaking down at very young ages, and that's not really the case in gaming. Um, but there are some physical things there. So how have you? Is that something you feel again that is addressing it, and the mental health aspect of it too? The mental health is a whole topic in sports right now, and I think it bleeds in to esports. So how do you view all of that?
Well, to the mental health part. So there's toxicity in gaming and esports, right? I mean, women are always being harassed and there's always going to be some jerk guy that's, oh, you shouldn't be in gaming, go in the kitchen, some stupid shit. And like that's always going to happen. You can't make a dick not a dick, right? But what you can do is you can provide a safe, welcoming community and environment. You can also have moderators and security guards, if you will, that look, if you go to Disney, which is presumably the most magical place in the world, and somebody's in there being an asshole, they're going to get thrown out, right? So it's the same thing that's going to happen here. Everyone's welcome. Everyone's allowed to be part of it. The minute you're an ass, or the minute you start doing some shit that ruins the vibe or the community here, you're out. So when you have rules that are that tough, trust me, there's going to be a lot of people that'll second guess whether they want to be a jerk because they don't
Mm,
want to be thrown out of
I know.
this and they don't want to lose the opportunity of being a part of this. So that's something I'm really passionate about.
And well, and you said, like, a lot of resistance, in my experience, to esports and gaming comes from older fans, but the generation that is very like you said, the average gamer is now 35, so the generation that grew up playing is the sports fan now. So do you think that generational argument just solves itself over time?
Yeah. And the other thing that most people don't know is, dude, you know how many MLB, NHL wrestlers, NFL, NBA, soccer players are also gamers? Like, they all game. So there was a time, and anybody that knows sports and any athlete watching right now or listening is going to understand what I'm saying. There was a time years ago, you played the game, you went to the locker, you showered, you went to the club, you looked for girls, and you did your thing, right? That's what it was to be a successful athlete, right? Now they go to the shower, they go back to their hotel rooms, and they game against other players. They set up LAN events where they all connect their shit together. Like, I
Mhm.
can't tell you the amount of athletes that care more about gaming than going to the club and chasing some ass. It's a totally different world. I mean, I'll tell you, for wives, you should encourage your athlete husband to game. It's like anti-cheating because they're playing games with their boys rather than out at the club getting drunk and doing something they might.
Wedding advice for, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce whenever that happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and the Olympics, I got a couple questions left. The Olympics have been experimenting with esports inclusion. Is that a step forward in, I hate to say legitimacy, but in legitimacy in your mind?
It is a step forward, but I will tell you, esports in its current form will have a very hard time, if ever, crossing over to mainstream and pop culture and connecting to the streets. Because as I said, it's very niche. It's kind of a it's kind of a broken model. It doesn't attract, people that are not hardcore esports players. There's nothing really there for them. You either got to know these players or really be a hardcore fan of that specific game. So even if it's in the Olympics, which is amazing to say esports in the Olympics, it's look, I came up through hip hop. Every step was hip hop being more legitimized and another door opening to then becoming the number one genre in the world, right? But like, everything that esports is doing and those behind pushing esports is helping to make the bubble bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So inevitably it will bust and pour all over mainstream and pop culture. But you need something like the Global Gaming League that does automatically connect it to celebrity, to community, to culture, where it resonates more than just hardcore esports. And like,
Mhm,
look at
mhm.
for a lot of people, esports will be force fed to people in the Olympics because there's going to be a lot of people that, I mean, look at breakdancing. Like, there's a
I
lot of
That's what I thought of when you said
like
it, yeah.
breakdancing, like a lot of people don't care when there's breakdancing, right? And then like, you know, breakers care, but then there's even a lot of breakers that are like, it's not real the way they do it, and da 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 da. So you're always going to have that. So, and I knew all this like 8 years ago that this is where we were going, and I knew that something like this. I've been ideating on this for 8 years. Like I just launched it 2 years ago, and the reason the first 6 years didn't work is because everybody I brought it to didn't understand. And so I inevitably was like, I got to just do this myself.
Well, I think what you're building is so revolutionary because it is offering that community and that connection to a lot of people that haven't felt it, that haven't and that's what sports is all about. As much as sports has changed and morphed over the decades, like sports brings people together. It brings you as part of a team and a community. And this is the same thing for anyone listening. Yes, it's not like we said, it's not a physical industry, but it is still very much the same value driven and the same experience driven that these
Hard
mainstream
work and
sports.
focus and camaraderie and community. You know, I was talking to Dwight Howard recently, and we were talking. He goes, one of my favorite parts about gaming is, he goes, I love when I'm playing against somebody and they don't know it's Dwight Howard. And then,
Yeah,
and then
I can
all of a sudden they
imagine.
find out that they're playing against me because like, you're just it's all community. You just land in and you're playing with somebody. You're like, holy shit, is that Dwight Howard I'm playing with? And like,
Yeah.
Dwight's so cool and down to earth. And he told me like there's people he become friends with online through gaming. Like he's bought people like PlayStations and PCs and stuff, just by doing that. So it's also another place to engage with celebrities. It's a place for celebrities to engage with community and their fans in a real way. That's not like a meet and greet or a cameo video or something, you know?
Well, like I said, thank you for coming on. This has been so insightful, and I appreciate you really walking our audience through what the Global Gaming League is. How can they find it?
Yeah, if you wanna follow the journey, we're on all socials are at Global Gaming League, or you can follow me at Clinton Sparks. And if you wanna join the league right now, gglprimes.com. If you got a kid that should join, if you got a kid that's playing like, "What are you doing with all this? What's the point? Why are you wasting all your time?" Well, they won't be anymore when they join gglprimes.com. So, share with a friend.
Well, Clinton, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to us. This has been fantastic, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you for putting me in the middle. I appreciate it.